Hi there, my Rockworld fans. We are here in Munich at the Firework with exclusive interview with Mike Portnoy from the Winery Dogs. Hello, Mike.
Hello. Guten Morgen, guten Tag.
Awesome.
How are you?
Fine. Mike, tell us a little bit about the Winery Dogs. It's your new project. How did the Winery Dogs come together?
Well, let me see. The legend has it that myself and Billy Sheehan were working together originally on something else with somebody else. And after that kind of was in a stalling pattern, he and I began looking for somebody new, and that's when my good friend Eddie Trunk recommended the great Richie Kotzen, and Richie was the perfect suggestion, and Billy and I got together with Richie at his place, and threw everything else out that we were working on previously, and we started from scratch, and that's where the Winery Dogs began.
Where did the name Winery Dogs come from?
It was Richie's suggestion. It was, it was an ongoing thing for many months, the three of us trying to come up with the perfect name, and we had a list of maybe 100 different names that we fought over for months. And finally, Richie just beat us down and won with the Winery Dogs.
Some funny names in it?
There were some funny names. We had, I got the list here on my phone. I'll tell you a couple of funny ones. One of the ones that Billy really liked was Telefunken U-47. I liked Zenith. Zenith was one of the ones we were thinking of. Trio was another one. Zen Brigade. We almost were called Zen Vita. That was one that Richie really wanted, and we went with it for a few days and then pulled the plug. Thank God. But at the end of the day, I think these are all horrible names. Okay. But at the end of the day, it doesn't matter, because what does Aerosmith mean? What is an Aerosmith? Yeah. Who knows? Who cares? At the end of the day, it's the band that makes the name, not the name that makes the band.
You're right. A lot of people have called this project a supergroup. Would you say that's an accurate assessment?
Well, it wouldn't be politically correct for me to say that it's a correct assessment, but I could see where that label would come from. I mean, anytime you get a bunch of guys together that have histories from other bands, or in the case of us, you have three guys that have histories that are 20 or 30 years long, inevitably the term supergroup will be applied. So I understand it, and hopefully this band will outlast a lot of these supergroups from the past, because usually supergroups have a tendency to kind of implode after a year or two. So time will tell if we'll stand the test of time.
How did the songs of the new album come together?
Well, I would say the first 50% of the material was written completely spontaneously and collaboratively, with the three of us just bouncing ideas off of each other. And maybe the first, 7 or 8 songs were written that way, just together on the spot. And then once we had around 7 or 8 songs, then we started to take a look at some things that Richie had on the shelf, and he presented some songs, and some of which we put on the table for band dissection and rearrangement, and then there were a couple of others that we kind of left as they were. So that was the general thing. Basically, a lot of collaboration, a lot of arranging together, and we produced the album together, the three of us. Obviously, a lot of it comes from Richie, being he's the singer and guitar player. So just by nature of his instrument and voice, a lot of it is going to stem from him, but Billy and I were very, very involved with,
Yeah. Have you been familiar with the solo albums from Richie?
I wasn't until a couple of years ago. I only had known Richie as, the guy from, the guy that replaced Paul Gilbert in Mr. Big, and the guy that replaced CC in Poison. So I wasn't really familiar with his solo catalog until a few years ago. A couple of friends turned me on to his work, and I was blown away. I was floored by not only the depth of soul that he has in his playing and his singing, but also the range of his abilities. You could hear funk, you can hear jazz, you can hear shred, you can hear R&B. He has such incredible range, both as a guitar player and a singer. So as soon as I was introduced to his solo catalog, I was blown away.
Tell me, what is the difference between your former project Adrenaline Mob and your new project Winery Dogs?
Well, there's many differences.
Musically?
First and foremost, musically, well, stylistically, they're worlds apart. Adrenaline Mob is based upon hard rock and heavy metal, energetic, riffing type of stuff, you know, like Pantera meets Black Label meets Godsmack and Disturbed. So, you know, that's a completely different genre from the Winery Dogs. Winery Dogs is more based in classic rock or blues-oriented type stuff, you know, more in the vein of the Stones and the Who and Zeppelin with modern touches of Black Crowes or Soundgarden or Alice in Chains. So stylistically, they're two very complete different genres. But also the chemistry is different too. With Adrenaline Mob, I wasn't involved with the songwriting. It was mainly Russell Allen and Mike Orlando who had written it before I was even involved. Whereas with the Winery Dogs, it was a collaborative, creative process, you know, from the moment we began.
Do you like classic rock mostly?
I grew up on it. And, you know, before I was listening to metal and before I was listening to progressive rock, I grew up on classic rock. You know, from the late 60s and early 70s, that's all I was listening to. I was listening to The Who and Zeppelin, Beatles and Stones and Hendrix and Cream and The Doors. That's what I grew up on. And I would say for the first 10 years of my life, that's what I was not only listening to, but playing as a drummer. So, you know, this has kind of brought me full circle 30 years later. But even all those years with Dream Theater, you know, I still was always a classic rock fan. That's why I put together a Beatles tribute band, and I did a Who tribute band and a Zeppelin tribute band, because there was always this part of me that loved this style of music but didn't really have an outlet for it until now.
Please tell us a secret funny thing about the Winery Dogs that nobody knows.
That Richie Kotzen is absolutely insane. He's crazy.
Really?
If you follow him on Vine, then maybe you're aware of it. But he's, you know, before I knew him, I pictured him being like very serious, you know, very like a pretty boy, because he's so damn good looking. I figured he was this cocky pretty boy guitar player, singer. But no, he's actually really, he's got one of the most bizarre senses of humor I've ever seen. He just does very, very strange and funny things.
Okay. What do you like most about Billy Sheehan?
Billy is one of my favorite bass players on earth, and he always has been, well before I ever even played with him. I used to go see Tallis when I was a teenager. I'd sneak into the clubs to see them on Long Island, New York. And I'd been following him since the Tallis days, so it's been over 30 years now. And to me, he is the Jimi Hendrix of bass guitar. I mean, he is one of those people that pioneered the instrument and, you know, invented a way of playing it that nobody ever did before and nobody has ever since.
Mike, what's next for the Winery Dogs?
We will be on tour in Europe for the rest of the month, and we have a U.S. tour in October and November. Then we're going to take a break for the rest of the year, and we'll be off as well into spring of next year because we all have other things going on. But then we will resume Winery Dog activity around April of next year and continue as long as people will have us. We plan on touring all through 2014 and coming back to Europe in the summer and, you know, just touring as much as we can. And then when that has completely exhausted itself, then at that point, we'll think about the next record.
I think that the new album is absolutely amazing. It's really great. Will it be out on vinyl maybe too?
Yeah,
someday?
absolutely. I've actually been working with the record company on the layout for it, so it is indeed coming out on vinyl, I think sometime next month, October.
Great.
Yeah.
So the layout, the cover, the design will be different?
Same design. There's a new photo on the it's a gatefold, and we put a new photo in there, and obviously it's a double album. Yeah, it's going to be cool.
We have a lot of vinyl fans in myRockworld.
Me too.
So they will be happy to have that as news.
Yeah, I'm a vinyl
Okay.
fan and collector myself.
Yeah. Mike, some words to the fans.
Well, I'm really enjoying this new beginning with the Winery Dogs, and I appreciate all the fans, of mine and Richie's and of Billy's. You know, all three of us have our individual fan bases, and they are coming together to create one new fan base for the Winery Dogs. So we're enjoying we're enjoying this new beginning. So thank you to everybody that's gotten behind it and supported it.
Okay. Mike, thank you very much for that interview.
Cool.